I'm a little concerned, though. I would think that if you have this type of knowledge, I would also think that you would not have a monopoly of it. Do you agree with me?
Well, definitely, it's not my duty to come and start telling the world, but as I speak to you...
No, I mean, definitely not the world, but
Good.
at least
No, because if I'm talking to you...
The agencies of government, because what this has cost us, first of all, is a major security embarrassment.
What I'm trying to say, invariably...
Just a moment, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
A major security embarrassment. It threatens our national integrity.
Very correct.
Many Nigerians are worried. Some of them have taken to the streets in protests. People who generally maybe do not know the workings of politics, but know that human lives are involved and, want to see the carnage stop.
Yep.
There is palpable fear being expressed by other Nigerians, so much so that, people can't travel freely as they would love to. And when you mention certain areas of this country, people would say, don't worry, I'll stay where I am. I'd rather not go.
Good.
So much as one would agree with you that, yes, it is an expensive price to pay if it is politics indeed, but one would ask, don't the security agencies also know this? Or is it just a section of people that know this, that this is just towards 2015? Been orchestrated by politicians?
Good. You see, the problem we have in this country is that it's just because, before I took the pains to say what I'm saying, I have come to realize that a lot of people can't even stand up to say what is real. I stand and say the real issues because I know I stand by the truth. Whoever I call his or her name knows that this man, Jude, is saying the truth. And so I'm not bothered. When these boys were killing people in the creeks, nobody spoke. I went on air and said, what you're doing is no more resource control struggle, but criminality and killings and kidnappings for your own personal pockets. And that's criminal, and you must face the law.
Some of this information, did you volunteer same to the security operatives at that point in time? Because in 2010,
yes,
we were still very much here. And I also recall the presidency saying it wasn't meant until we saw otherwise. So did you speak with the police? Did you volunteer information in the law courts while the case was on?
You should even thank God that I'm alive, because I did what no man would have done. I went even as far as making sure Nigerian oil flows by making sure we enforce amnesty. When people were busy talking about
you enforced amnesty?
Yes. When I mean enforcing amnesty, let me explain. I was on AIT. I knew what went wrong between myself and Kingsley Kuku. It was not going to work. Then I was a special advisor to the Governor Silva, who is of APC today. And I said, look, amnesty has to work because Nigerians must feed, the oil must flow, employment must be generated. You cannot be fighting a struggle and then you say you're closing the source of employment. And by His grace, because you can't expect me to be walking on the street and I'm being harassed every day by youths. And I said, until you open up these channels for things to happen, there's no progress for Nigeria. And God willing, it succeeded.
All right, could you tell us then, you've given a background of what you think the problem is. Tell us your perspective of how we are handling this challenge. Because, it's one thing to say this is the cause, and then how we handle it can tell people, or it could point people to what the motive is. It could also point people to other things. So what's your assessment of the way we're approaching this issue?
Well, it's very simple. Like, for instance, we have a crisis at hand, and all I expect of Nigerians is for us to come together and think of how do we go out of this crisis without politicizing the issue. Well, as it stands today, let me be frank, and let's don't hide the facts from the truth, that everything about Nigeria today is being politicized, and that is a very wrong precedent.
Including how to rescue the girls?
What are you talking about? Is it rescue the girls? You want me to talk about that?
Sure, why not?
You saw the former minister of education who went and been, for the last 1 month, she's been at the Unity Fountain in Abuja, spending millions of, in 5, 10 millions of dollars mobilizing people all over the world and staying in the
sure
very...
about that?
I don't get you.
Let me land. I know where I'm coming from.
no.
You know why? I watched the Shakal's video clip.
The reason why we have to interrupt you is because we
yes.
have to ask the source of your information.
I'm coming.
In terms of how much she spent and where she's gotten all that money from.
You know something? Ask her where she's been in. It is presidential suite at the Transcorp. And wait, I'm coming. I'm coming.
No, I won't let you go
Wait,
further.
wait,
no,
wait.
I will not.
No, because
I will not let you go
now
further.
let me explain. Let me
because
explain.
Almost all questions asked, you
Yes.
still haven't actually given us answers,
Yes.
and I'm forced to say this
Go
because
ahead, go ahead.
we must get answers from you, and if you're not ready, then you let us
I'm
in
ready,
on that.
I'm ready.
Because Malcolm has just asked you to tell us the source of your information. Now we're not asking you to name names. In the first instance, you said you wouldn't name names concerning those you alleged to have actually been sponsored to cause mayhem in Abuja or attack the person of the president. And now you go further. We're talking about the Chibok girls. Okay. And we won't let you impugn on the persons of the former minister and others who are campaigning for the release of those girls. So if you say they're being held up somewhere or lodged in a presidential suite that someone has given them millions of dollars, that's your word, you should be able to tell us how you came about that information.
Do you know something? I am a man that believes in going to everywhere that I see that the crisis is brewing. Take for instance now, I took my time. I'm one man that if they are killing people, I will take my time to go there to find out why are they killing people.
You still have not told us how you got your information on that.
Okay, now let me give an instance now. I went there because I saw this thing for over 2, 3, 4 weeks, and I was like, what's going on? What's actually the game plan? And I went there, and I tried to ask questions. What is actually happening? I physically went and saw what was happening. And I said, but this is not the way we should go. We have a crisis in the country where, as I speak to you, the man that is our problem, the so-called Boko Haram man, in his YouTube video, acknowledged that Nigerians were protesting against me because of these girls. He spoke in Hausa and Arabic. I don't know how many people listen to it. I don't understand Hausa or neither
do you understand Arabic? Okay.
But what I did was that I was with a friend. We were together throughout the night. And he was telling me A, B, C, D of every point by point that this man was saying. And this man made he said, look, you people are protesting against me because of these girls. I'm going to sell them. I'm going to sell them. That alone was enough for the world to know, for everybody to know that the protests we were doing against Boko Haram as a sect was actually taking place, was actually having an impact. But people didn't listen to these things. They just looked at it and waved it off. I listened to him.
Mr. Tabai, you still haven't told us how you came about monies being given to these people.
Now let me ask you.
Yes, good. For the release of this young girls.
Let me. I went into this place. I met people, and I asked questions because I asked questions. I said, "What is actually happening here?" Do you know at times I even pretend to be part of the protesters, and I was able to know that people were being funded and they've been on that operation for over almost a month. This is Nigeria, where nothing goes for nothing.
No, you can't say that for sure. A lot of people, we don't have to name names, have actually given their time and money for a cause. So we can't say this is Nigeria as if people don't sacrifice. It means, well, what you've just told us is untrue, unsubstantiated, and a mere rumor and a figment of someone who's given you all of that imagination.
Well, it's very unfortunate that you're talking to a man who is a realist. You're talking to a man who believes in not what people say.
It is rather
and
unfortunate.
What, you know, I need us to go straight to the point about how we're going to solve the problem of Nigeria.
We asked that question, but you went on to actually tell us what we would want to get more information from you. If you're saying, for instance, I have collected money from an individual. I do the questioning now. Okay. That's the unfortunate one. Are you going to
tell me that I should tell you who gave monies, and that's not possible. No. All I'm after here, the major issue
Why
here.
Why is it not possible?
You know the major problem.
But what you're saying, they're very strong allegations. We have seen different.
Now,
just a moment, sir.
Yes.
We have seen different protests.
Yes.
But one has stayed you know, the time, so to speak. They said they were not going to disperse until those girls were brought back. Now, it's a pretty tough vow to take, especially when you have to meet in the rain, in the sun. It's not all the time you have full numbers. I mean, you can see that, you know, you barely have a gathering sometimes. And that's to tell you that it's pretty difficult for something that is being funded. If people were making a living from it, I would think that they will be there every day. But just to add a little to it, we did see some other groups, you know, I mean, there were many protest groups at a particular point going to the NSA's office, going to the CDS's office, going to the Unity Fountain to go and protest. Where are those groups today? There's just one that is still standing. And you can still say that that group, they're very few in numbers, but they're there nonetheless.
Good.
So if they're being paid millions of dollars, why haven't more Nigerians joined by all means?
Well, you see, if I continue to argue on this issue, it may look as if I have something personal about it. But I'm telling you.
This is not an argument,
do you know something?
It's a question.
I was there 4 days ago. And what I heard, what was going on.
Were you paid to join the protest?
If I tell you what I've done to save this country, you will never believe it. So don't.
So you went there on your personal accord?
Yes. I'm a man that can drive and see a problem and stop and ask what is the problem. And that was how I got there.
So what were you told?
When I got there, the issues were very simple. Addressing people and telling them to say all sorts of inciting things about the administration.
For instance?
And yeah, that's like go on, talk, go to the YouTube, take this, do that. And I was like, but that's not what we expect. I'm not talking about peace. What I'm talking about is a situation whereby Nigerians will come together and think of the way forward.
The reason why we also find that a little improbable is because our cameras have been there almost on a daily basis to at least try and cover. I'm sure that even if we're not there, you know, with our cameras filming certain things, our correspondents have ears. They would definitely have picked up 1 or 2 things. Are you saying you're the only one who's picked this up?
Well, what I want to tell you is that God is there to judge us, and I know someday, sometime, the truth about Nigeria and every activity is being performed by every person will be revealed against the innocent Nigerians that are being killed. My biggest problem is, and which I have stood to defend, is that we must not use the blood of Nigerians to actualize individual dreams, aspirations of politicians.
Mr. Tabai, I'm going to ask you one question.
Go ahead.
Do you think that the girls are really missing? Are those girls truly missing?
Do you know the question? The answer? That answer could only be given by the governor of that particular state, because as far as I'm concerned, when you're a governor of a state, in our days when people were kidnapped, in the Niger Delta crisis, it was the governor that were called, and they were the ones that
He says yes. I mean, they have been kidnapped. Do you believe him?
How would I know? Because as I speak to you, the stories are so much. You and me were here when they said Boko Haram is invisible. But you and me also knows Boko Haram is visible. So when you hear statements like this, it's so contradictory, because this impression was created to Nigerians, and Nigerians believe that this is an invisible organization. I've never seen an invisible organization in this world. Even Al-Qaeda is visible. And then people were killed, people were caught, and you still insist that these people are unreachable, they don't have identities. Well, as I speak to you today, the security situation in Maiduguri has improved, because the people have stood up to say, this is our place, and we must defend it. And that's why these people were able to sneak themselves out to the forest.
So are you suggesting that if the president were not to contest in 2015, Boko Haram will cease this violence?
It's very unfortunate that these kind of questions are coming up.
From your submissions.
Yes, you've heard people say in this country that if the presidency does not move, this country will be ungovernable. If things are not done this way, this country will be ungovernable. Why are Nigerians not asking ourselves the truth? What are the meanings of these statements of being ungovernable? It's a threat to the nation. It's not a threat to Jonathan. It's not a threat to you and me. As I speak to you, they are bombing Muslims, they are bombing Christians, they are bombing women, they are bombing children. And all these are because people want to project an agenda from the back door. If you think there's a problem, I believe in peace. I've always used peace to settle problems. People should sit down and ask ourselves, how do we go out of this log jam? How do we solve this problem? Because if you kill and say the killings are all targeted at making sure that an administration is brought to book. Tomorrow, if another administration comes on board, what do we do? Will the other people start killing or blowing up pipelines? These are the things I would never subscribe to. Because when Yar'Adua was there as a president, I knew what we did to say, look, the oil must flow, because if you don't pay civil servants their salaries, this government is going to grind to a halt. And the president then was the vice president. I'm a human being. Nobody sent me, but I knew the risk I took. We brought out over 10,000 youths over 20,000 youths from the creeks. I was then in charge of amnesty and Niger Delta problems in the Niger Delta, in Bayelsa State. Out of the 20,000 names, I never put one name.
All right, Mr. Tabai.
And that's the commitment we're talking about.
We'd like to thank you for coming on this morning. Jude Tabai is of the Peace Advocacy and Security Network. Thank you for coming on this morning.
God bless you.
All right, we're back in just a moment here. Please join us again.